So, have you been feeling it? Because this isn't just any old full moon. This one is packing some potent energy. So, let's talk about it and see what the cards have to share with us. Hello, magical person. My name is Lou, and I am a reader, intuitive, artist, and maker. I'd like to welcome you or welcome you back to my channel where I offer tarot readings, backyard magic videos, and the occasional live stream. Which, speaking of, I am thinking that I'm going to be doing a live stream on this Thursday, August 31st in the afternoon, local to my time, which is Pacific Daylight Time. And we will just sort of check in post full moon, see how those energies are settling, maybe pull some cards, and otherwise just chill, hang out, and chat about whatever people want to chat about. So go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be in the know. But that is another day. In today's video, we are going to be talking a little bit about these big energies that are coming at us and which you may already be feeling the effect of. And then we're going to jump right into a tarot reading, which will be pick a card style. So as I previously mentioned, these are some pretty big energies. So what is this all about? So this is the super blue sturgeon moon in Pisces. Let's break all of that down. First of all, let's talk about when this is happening. On either Wednesday, August 30th, or Thursday, August 31st, depending on what your local time zone is. It's going to be happening on Greenwich Mean Time at 2:35 or 2:36 a.m. on Thursday, August 31st. If you are in the United States, that means that it's actually going to be happening on Wednesday, August 30th at 9:36 p.m. Eastern Time or 6:36 p.m. Western Time. Okay, so let's break down what we've got here. We've got a supermoon. What is a supermoon? A supermoon happens when the moon is closest to the Earth. And so what that means is that supermoons appear to be larger than other moons. Okay, we also have that this is a blue moon. Well, what does that mean? Simply, what a blue moon is when there are two full moons that occur within one calendar month. And that only happens when you have a full moon at the very beginning of the month, that there's enough time for that to exist. So earlier this month, we had, I think it was on August 1st, we had another full moon, which was also a supermoon. But so since it's the second one that's falling within the month of August, that is what makes this a blue moon. They are in fact pretty rare, where the phrasing comes from of once in a blue moon. Now this is also the biggest supermoon, so this is going to be the brightest and the largest full moon of the year. Another thing is that I refer to this as the sturgeon moon, and arguably the full moon on August 1st could have also been referred to as the sturgeon moon because it's the full moon that happens within the month of August. And where that comes from, based on the pretty limited amount of research that I did, is it comes from the Algonquin tribes. And it was called the sturgeon moon because it was right around this time of year that the sturgeon, which is a type of fish, were particularly plentiful and easier to catch than at other times of the year. So that's what we've got. We also have that this full moon is occurring in Pisces, and Pisces being the final zodiac sign, this also means that we are wrapping up our lunar year. And boy, are we going out with some banging energies. Okay, so what even is a full moon? I guess I should have backed up and started with that. A full moon is when the sun and the moon are in opposition to each other, and that is when the moon appears to be at its fullest and brightest to us from our perspective here on Earth. So what we've got is we've got the energy of the sun, we've got the energy of the moon. The energy of the sun right now is within the astrological sign of Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign, and it is also mutable. And mutable means that this is an adaptable sign. There is sometimes a feeling of restlessness and a yearning for change in a way. Some of the key words that come up within the astrological sign of Virgo are order, routine, structure, practicality, logical, sometimes perfectionistic when things are out of balance. So we've got that on sort of one side, right? And then we have the moon energy. And again, the moon is in Pisces. Pisces is also a mutable sign, so also a bit restless and adaptable and desirous of change. But this is a water sign. So whereas the earth signs tend to be a bit more grounded in day-to-day reality, the water signs tend to speak more to the emotional aspects of ourselves as human beings. So with the mutable sign of Pisces, we have that this is very empathetic energy. This is very intuitive or mystical or otherworldly kind of energy. This is sensitive and imaginative, and also when things can become out of balance, moody is probably a good word to describe it. So we've got here these two opposing energies, and we're having them hit us at the same time. And so what does that mean? Well, it might be a good time to have some ritual and sort of merge the practical doings, the reality of actually doing a thing, with that intuitive, otherworldly energy of the Pisces, and sort of use the energy of the sun to help sort of propel us forth into really tuning into the energy of the moon that's going to be most impactful at this time. You may be noticing that you have a heightened sense of creativity, or perhaps your emotional awareness is just turned up a little bit more than is typical. Oh, and also Saturn is somehow in the mix. Now, I'm not really an astrologer, so to be honest with you, I didn't really understand all of the math of how this came up, and it fell out of my brain before I could make notes about it. But what did stick around is that the energy of Saturn might also be impacting us. And of course, Saturn is about limitations and boundaries. So the energy of Saturn could kind of hit us in a couple of different ways. It could either aid us in really grounding these rituals and this energy that we're going to be bathing in, either grounding it in reality so that we can, from a place of being grounded, more easily access those intuitive spaces, those emotional and creative spaces. Or it could also be that the energy of Saturn may be blocking us a little bit and instead causing more of a feeling of like overwhelm from all of the emotional energy kicking around, or even a sense of like overwhelm to the point of like just kind of shutting it out entirely. So maybe you're feeling a lot and that's a little atypical, or you might have conversely been noticing that you're feeling a little bit less than usual and been wondering why. And that could be it. It could be just the energy of Saturn really inviting you to sink into a place of physical groundedness so that you can be in a place of better managing these energies. This could show up as sort of like you may be noticing that some things that you are procrastinating about or avoiding will be sort of brought to light as though there's a sort of floodlight pointing at them. So that could be something that you might be experiencing. But regardless of how exactly these energies are interacting with you in your space, this is still an invitation to have gratitude for the lessons that we have learned. And I do realize how that is sometimes very challenging, but it is also a really important step in the healing process. By having gratitude for the lessons, which often show up as adverse experiences in some way, by having gratitude for those things, that means that we've shifted our perspective and sort of, there are so many metaphors, rounded the corner, shifted perspective, and rewritten our narrative, so to speak, about whatever the situation is. So this is an opportunity to really to be in a place of allowing that healing to happen. This may also mean that there's going to be some self-judgment coming up, because I think for many of us on the healing journey, judgment of the self is something that will often show up, particularly as we are either about to make a leap of faith or after we've made a leap of faith. There's a lot of like kickback, churning up of energy that feels a little defensive. And I know that for many people, myself most certainly including, judgment is one of the first things that comes up. Now, one final note on these energies in general is that Pisces, like I said, it's introspective, it's intuitive, it sort of feels the pain and the loss and the sorrow at a very deep level. But I'd also like to take this opportunity to remember that Pisces also sees the magic and sees the potential and sees the subtleties and the interconnectedness. Being the last sign of the cycle, it's comprised of bits of all of the other signs, and so that being able to see the interconnectedness of everything is sort of one of the skills and one of the benefits that we can get from tuning into this Piscean energy. So now that we've gotten a better idea of what the energies are at play, let's get into the readings. What we're going to do here is there are going to be 3 readings for you to choose from. I have chosen some tokens, and the format's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to actually pull a bunch of cards. I've got 4 tarot decks and 4 oracle decks right here, all pre-shuffled and ready to go. And I'm just going to pull a pile of cards, and no real format to it aside of just flipping them all over all at once and letting the messages that come out just come on out. You can pick 1 reading, you can pick 2, you can pick all 3. As always, take what resonates and leave the rest. And I'm going to tell you now what our 3 tokens are for these readings. So the first token is this little bell. Hopefully that won't be too loud. It's a lovely, lovely noise. The second symbol is the spiral. And then the third one is this prism, along with all of these other pretty fun things on it. So those are the 3 tokens of the 3 readings, and I will be inserting a still, but just in case some of you are new to Pick a Card Tarot readings, I wanted to just take a second and, I mean, you can pick by whatever metric you like. You like the token, you like the number, something to you about it just calls to you. The way I always kind of did it was that, especially when I was pretty new to it and really trying to first sort of turn on and reopen my connection with my own intuition, was I would sort of take a couple of breaths to quiet myself internally as much as possible, or at least come to a place of physical stillness, if nothing else. As without, so within, right? So sometimes if you are still physically, that will sort of, with a few deep breaths especially, kind of morph into an inner stillness. Well, maybe not stillness, but a closer to stillness, let's just say. So I take a few breaths, sort of ground myself, center myself, just become present with the moment. And then whether it was the number or the symbol or the token that the reader had provided, I would sort of hold an image of it in my mind, and just for a few seconds, and just sort of pay attention to what my body was feeling. And what I often notice is that the reading that was meant for me would result in a feeling that sort of came from the pit of my stomach, but sort of effervescently moved upwards. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was definitely like an internal sensation, I guess. And then if it wasn't the reading for me, then I would instead feel a sort of like sinking in my stomach. And it was pretty subtle. It wasn't overwhelming by any stretch of the imagination, but that's the metric that I always used. So you can pick any metric that works for you to tuning into which reading has the messages that you need to hear. Group 1, Magical Bell Friends. If you selected the token of the bell, then this reading is for you. So let's go ahead and pull a bunch of cards for you and see what we see. And while I'm pulling cards, I also want to just tell you a little bit about the token. So I pretty much just walked around my house and until 3 different things popped out at me as being right. And it's a little different than the way I usually do things. Typically I'll pick a theme first, or things that are already naturally part of a theme will appear to me. But in this case, it was a little bit different. But it was interesting. Like, as soon as I picked up the bell, I had this sort of feeling of like that there's a clarity. There's a, oh, goodness. Sorry, the UPS person just came next door and now the dog is barking, so my apologies if you can hear that. But yeah, the first thing that came to mind was just how clear the sound of this bell was, and just things coming through very clearly rather than being muffled or distorted in any way. So I think that, you know, my goodness, now several dogs are going off. Yeah, you can definitely hear that. So my apologies, folks. This is why I wore the earbuds last time, because this new dog neighbor is a little intense for me. And the earbuds do a better job of filtering out the background sound, but I didn't think it would be necessary today. Clearly I was wrong. Anyhow, so yeah, clarity of sound, lack of distortion. So this might be a time where communicating, especially for some reason is coming to mind right now, feels very clear. And it might also be a time where you're looking to get clarity around communication. So I think that, you know, this is going to be a little bit different for everybody, but I think maybe spending some time thinking about clarity and what that means to you might be appropriate for this full moon, or just thinking about what you do have clarity on or what you're looking for clarity on, sort of like as we are ending the end of the lunar cycle here, and this is also the last full moon of the summer, so the next one will fall after the autumnal equinox has occurred. So, you know, this might be a time to sort of look at where you want things, getting some clarity around some things so you know where you're sort of aiming your gaze going forward, moving into the new lunar cycle. All right, so we've got a pile of tarot cards here, and we're also going to go through and pull some oracle cards for you. Just one from each of these decks. And then we'll flip them all over and see what we see. Oh, that one. Oh, I see. As soon as I say you only get one from each deck, then Spirit is like, we're going to throw out 2 and let you know that you're supposed to use both of them. All right. We'll get a card or so from this deck as well. Okay, just one from this one. Okay, so now we have a huge amount of cards, and let's flip them all over. So for a hummingbird card, we have pollination. Pay attention to new thoughts and ideas, as they are seeds that will soon blossom into fulfilling opportunities and projects. And I love that, especially as I was just sort of mentioning about how we're moving into the new lunar year. We have first quarter moon. Your commitment is being tested. Interesting. The 2 that came out for the animal cards were, and wonderfully connected too. We have frog, clear out the clutter, and bat, a rebirth is assured. Or is it assured? Yes, assured. So, and then as our last oracle card, we have immunity. Okay, so first off, just from those, as we flip over the rest of these here, you know, it seems as though with this rebirth is assured, clear out the clutter, commitment is being tested, I feel like there's something that is going to be wrapping up for you, or whether it's a cycle of some sort along with this lunar cycle is going to be wrapping up for you, which is going to give you an opportunity to get some clarity about what clutter you need to move out of your space, so that you can have a clear plate for this new energy to move in for you. With immunity, I think, this could be pointing to a variety of things, but initially the first thing that I'm hearing for that is that this isn't a time to let yourself get overwhelmed, to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and keeping yourself in a place where your cup is being refilled, as it is also, as energy is being spent, you're doing things to replenish your energy as well. Okay. So, for tarot cards. Alright, let's see what messages we have here, folks. Yeah, so there's a real opportunity here for you to move into a new space and really let your light shine. It's also a time where, like I said, overwhelm might be the thing that is coming up for you from that Saturnian energy. That Ten of Wands energy is kind of overwhelming, but it's also, like I said, pointing to. Oh wow, that's interesting. We got so many. We got 2 different 8s, 2 different 7s. Anyways, so this is a real opportunity to, clear out the clutter and let yourself be in your own space so that you can be more expansive. So I'd be curious if any of you want to share what the thing is that is wrapping up for you and what you're thinking you're going to move on to next, because it feels like it's let's see here. Wands, cups, wands, pentacles, swords. Yeah, wands, pentacles. Okay, we've got a lot of wands energy coming up here. So again, take what resonates and leave the rest. But I feel like maybe the thing that is wrapping up for you is something that was a source of inspiration or creativity. Maybe you're wrapping up a creative project of some sort. And it may also, I kind of feel like for some of you, it's not going to be like completely wrapping it up and putting away. It's that the stage that you've been in with this project has come to fruition, and it's time to move out of that stage and move into another stage. So for some of you, this might be showing up as you've been in the planning stage of doing something for a long time, and like it's almost like you're at risk of moving into the place of over planning, and which I think is where that 9, because there's the 9 of Wands and the 10 of Wands both showing up here, and I feel like both of those are kind of pointing to the same thing, which is that it really is time to just let things move on to the next step or the next thing, because like I said, if this is something that you've been thinking about or planning around, or a project that you've been sort of like gestating for a while, and that is an important part of the process, but I feel like it might also be that it's time to move out of that stage, because staying in that stage too long almost complicates things and prevents you from moving into the next stage. We also have here the oldest one, which is the Hierophant card, and this is a invitation to check in with your wisdom, check in with your grounding. Trees are obviously the most obvious metaphor or example of what grounding on a physical level can look like. And obviously I'm not literally suggesting you put your feet in the dirt and dig holes and root yourself, but it can be really helpful to just get out and spend time in nature, or to do some grounding meditative exercises where you imagine yourself as a tree growing roots that go all the way down into the center of the earth. We also have the 10 of Crystals here, which is the 10 of Pentacles and the 8 of Wands. So I feel like that to move things towards that ten of pentacles in this deck. Pentacles is called crystals, but to move towards that place of being in full abundance, there's first needs to come some new energy, and the Eight of Wands card is all about communicating. So I feel like if you have been having a sort of like conscious or semi-conscious feeling of like waiting for the call or waiting for a sign to come in to tell you that it's time to do the next thing, then I feel like that is going to be coming along with the moon. And with this full moon reading, we have the moon card showing up, which is of course an invitation to tune in to our own sense of intuition and to do that knowing that the moon isn't as bright as the sun. So there is our vision about our intuition is less clear and less sure than the vision we have with our physical eyes. And that's okay. That's just part of it. Like there is a little bit of faith that comes into connecting with your own intuition. We also have here the Eight of Boons, which is the Eight of Pentacles, and this is about actually like showing up and doing the practice. So again, I feel like maybe this is something that's like your guides are wanting to let you know that this thing requires you to actually like physically show up and have a practice of some sort, of actually like showing up to spin the wool into yarn so that then you can do something with the yarn. So it's like there's a sense of ordination to this, that like actual things need to be done so that you can move to that next stage. And we also have a couple of sevens showing up here. Again, the Seven of Wands that I showed you earlier, but also the Seven of Pentacles. So like with this clarity, I guess overall, mostly what I'm seeing so far is that you are being, the clarity that you have been waiting on is coming, but it will require you to put aside the over analyzing of things and take a little bit of a leap of faith and sort of bet on yourself and bet on your connection with your intuition, and that will make these next steps that you need to take much more clear. We also have the Knight of Swords showing up, and the Knight of Swords can be like very quick moving energy, and again with thoughts and with thinking, because it's swords, which is all about air, which is all about thinking. It can be very quick moving energy, sometimes to the point of impulsive. And so there is a cautioning coming through. When I put them down, I put these two right next to one another. And so I feel like, yes, there is the work that needs to be done, but I don't know why this phrase is coming into my mind, and it's a little crass, but I'm going to say it anyways. But slinging shit. I feel like this is a phrase that used to pop into my mind sometimes when I was at my old job and my old career, and there was just too much coming at me at once that I had to get done. And so it was just like, it would feel like I was just trying to move through things so quickly that I was also aware that like the quality and my attention to detail probably wasn't as good as it otherwise would be, or maybe like there was just too much going on, there was just too much to do, and it felt very overwhelming. So like this is that energy of like, don't be in that space. Like there's no need for you to feel overwhelmed, and there's no need for you to feel like you need to do everything right now. It's more about recognizing that things do need to be done and allowing your thinking to change and move on that, but following up with the actual practice of doing the thing. Also, we have the Three of Wands here. So there's There's also setting your intentions might be something that is going to be very helpful with you. And it's interesting because, like, I feel like, ooh, hang on, drop the card on the ground. Sorry, 8 of Boons, didn't need to drop you on the ground. What was I gonna say? Something about setting of intentions, maybe? Yeah, I feel like with the setting of intentions card, this is kind of also backing up that energy of like looking towards that star, that distant star, and again, creating your next set of intentions, your next set of steps that will get you closer to whatever that star energy is for you. um, hey, by the way, if you're enjoying this reading, if you wouldn't mind, please give it a thumbs up. It's really helpful. And also, I'd like to formally invite you to go ahead and sub to the channel if you haven't already. I made a little sticky that I reminded myself to mention that, and my eyes just caught it. I also feel like there are some secondary images that are, or secondary messages that are coming up with this immunity card. And I feel like one of the other messages is validation of a sort, that like even though you feel very overwhelmed, that like no, you've all of the planning that you have done up to this point has immunized you as much as is possible against not being able to make the next steps happen. So like again, like you've done the work, you've planned well up until this point, and it's time to clear out the things that don't matter and just allow the next part to unfold before you. And again, I feel like a secondary message coming through now with the 7 of Wands is that this really is an opportunity for you to be more fully in your own space. So if part of the reason why you have had this, why this energy of overwhelm has come up is because of external sources, then this is just an opportunity again for you to really ground yourself. And that can mean so many different things, but sometimes it's just as simple as grounding yourself in yourself. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially if we're a person who has people pleaser tendencies in some way or another, or for some reason or another, then it can be really easy for us to either allow others to ground through us, which is not really ever necessary, or we will ground ourselves through others. And so like I think this is really a big invitation to ground yourself within yourself and really have a deep check-in, because the opportunity for you to connect with your intuition during this time it's going to be so much clearer. But like I said, there is that Saturnian energy of overwhelm that's showing up. So if you feel like the clarity is just beyond your ability to hear it, then take some time to become quiet. For me, that shows up as either going for a walk or meditating or getting some time out in my garden. It may show up that way for you, and it may show up a variety of other ways. You know how best to calm your system. Basically, to be in the best place of receptivity with your intuition, the most important aspects are being relaxed, being calm, and being present. And these are subtle energies, so I think that's why we do need to have a sense of quietness sometime in order to hear them. So that would be my final word to you, reading 1, my beautiful Bell people. If you would like to have a private reading, that is something that I offer. The information on how to obtain one of those for your very own will be in the description box below. And I have finally made some progress with my Etsy page. It's mostly my leather work that's on there right now, although I am hoping to get some of the other things on there. It's just a matter of taking pictures. It's like I've done so much making, but the actual rest of it is just very difficult for me. But I have gotten some of it done, so kudos to me. Feel free to check out my Etsy page. That information will be below as well. And of course, I would love to hear from you. If you'd like to connect, please leave a comment or feel free to shoot me an email. Again, as always, take what resonates and leave the rest. I hope you've received something of value from this reading, and above all else, don't forget to be kind and gentle with yourselves, and I will see you soon. Hello, Magical Group 2. If you selected the spiral as your token, then this reading is for you. So while I am pulling out your cards, I am going to just tell you a little bit about this token. So I pretty much just walked around my house and looked at different things. I kind of walked around my house a bunch of times actually, and there were three things that just kept catching my eye that weren't usually related. Like a lot of times I'll pick 3 different herbs from the yard, or 3 different colors, or 3 different this, or 3 different that, or whatever. But in this case, it was just 3 kind of disparate things. And they all sort of kind of came with thoughts or messages that popped into my head when I picked them up. So with the spiral, the first thing that came to mind was about the healing journey, or that's what I call it. But really it's just a matter of going through cycles again and passing a similar place, but from a different perspective. This could also be showing up as wanting to go deeper. The other thing that came up was, what's the why? So like if you've been thinking a lot about the why of things, or you've just been noticing that you're noticing things that you have noticed before, but somehow it's different now. What were some of the other messages? One of the other things that I kept thinking was that it was kind of interesting because I was sort of seeing the spiraling going in both directions at the same time. So it was like, as there's this journey inward, like towards the self and towards an understanding of the self and an acceptance of the self, that there's also an opportunity to expand more into the world around you. And of course that can show up in a variety of ways, by maybe getting your work out there, or trying to make new friends, or dating, or being more open with the people that are already in your life, or allowing yourself to be in a place of fun. So it was really interesting energy, because it was both like moving in these 2 opposite directions, and very much with the feeling that they were interconnected, like that the one allowed the other, although the directionality wasn't entirely clear. So, all right, we are almost done here pulling your cards. I have, maybe it was too many decks because it does take quite a while to pull all of them out for you, but I appreciate your patience. But I have 4 different Oracle decks and 4 different Tarot decks. So starting off with the Oracle cards, we have Let It Blossom. The timing of the universe is precise and wise. With patience, care, and trust, the flowers we've been tending to will bloom in gorgeous beauty. Love that. We also have faith in your dreams. All right. And we have union. Interesting. Yeah, and like, okay, so I realize this isn't a spiral, but see how this picture is both like moving inwards and outwards at the same time? That's kind of the energy that I'm getting. And then we have elephant spirit, learning from the past. So yeah, like it, you know, that's really interesting, because again, like, we need to take lessons from our past so that when we come up with similar circumstances in the future, we're not doing the same thing. Okay, so now for tarot cards, we got the pile. So let's see what we see. All right. We have Three of Wands, the Page of Wands, the Four of Pentacles, the Ten of Crystals, which is Ten of Pentacles, the Warden of Crystals, which Warden is King, the Nine of Crystals, which is the, wow, that's a lot of Pentacles energy here. We got the 9, the 10, the 4, the King, and we have the Two of Swords, Seven of Cups, Ten of Wands, the Forge, which is otherwise known as Temperance, the Ace of Challenges, Ace of Swords, and the Wild Heart, which is otherwise known as the Fool. Whew. Yeah, group 2. I feel like there's a lot of really interesting energy here. Where do I want to start? So Three of Wands, a couple of these cards also showed up in reading 1. So, if you feel so called, like I said, I just want to remind you, you're certainly not required, but if it feels necessary, you are certainly allowed to watch more than one reading. So Three of Wands, this is about setting your intentions for the future. And again, like that, with that elephant energy of learning from the past, I feel like it's informed decisions. Like the intentions that you set now, you'd be best served by informing them from the past. That will allow this next level of things to happen. We also have the Page of Wands and the Four of Pentacles. With the Four of Pentacles, I feel like this is kind of coming across as maybe this is a feeling of defensiveness, or a feeling of like there is a part of you that is very interested in moving things to this next level, and this both simultaneous moving inwards and expanding outwards, but there is also a part of you that is a little bit fearful of that and is resistant to the idea of that, and is maybe kind of giving this like Two of Swords, Ten of Wands kind of energy, where it's like you're feeling like, yeah, you're feeling like you don't have like the clarity that you want in some way. But it's like right there. It's really interesting. I think maybe part of this next level of understanding for you is maybe going to center around this Nine of Pentacles. Gosh dang it. Nine of Pentacles energy, this energy of being self-reliant and recognizing that you can trust yourself. And maybe just, by also like, I mean, it is very difficult to trust yourself, and it's very easy to sort of assimilate narratives that point out the various times in your life where you've kind of proven to yourself in some small or not so small way that you can't trust yourself. But the elephant is, again, just wanting to remember that, like, for each instance of not being able to trust yourself that you have, the very fact that you're here is indicative of the multitudes of other times when you proved that you could have your own back and could be your working on your own side, and that you're able to trust yourself in doing that. So I dropped a card on the ground. I will be right back. Okay, so I am back. And so yeah, so there's this, and this might be causing a feeling of like overwhelm, in a way that it's interesting. To be very honest, this sometimes happens with readings where it will feel difficult for me to get the message out, so I might ramble a lot in this one. And I found, like, when I was taking the clairvoyant training in 2020, it seemed that would often show up when it was hitting on energies that were very close to, like, my own energy. So that's just interesting, and as an aside, that you didn't need to know. So TMI, my apologies. I wonder, maybe I'll edit that out. I don't know. Anyways, so there's this feeling of like feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you don't have clarity about your ability to trust yourself, and being in this like King of Pentacles place. So this may be showing up too as like not only just you feel like sometimes you can't trust yourself, but like in looking around, you're not noticing how much you already are in this King of Pentacles energy, this energy of having a lot of abundance available to you. I feel like with the Four of Pentacles, sometimes this is the energy of like feeling like you have to hold on to what you have because of a level of scarcity. Oh, yeah, I think that sealed it for me. Um, I know what this is about for me. I'm curious about what it is for you guys. If you are enjoying this reading and my weird, awkward self and in real time self-realizations, then please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It really does help a ton. And if you haven't already, then go ahead and sub to the channel. Why wouldn't you? I mean, who doesn't love content like this? You can see somebody start to blush in real time. Like, come on, I'm getting tomato ear and everything. Anyways, so this Four of Pentacles energy can sometimes be in the place of a fear of scarcity. And it's not like the crow has plenty of resources available to him, and he's holding on to them because he's afraid he doesn't, because there's this energy of not really being able to fully see yourself and your situation. So I feel like if there have been fears coming up for you lately around that sort of thing, and again, Seven of Cups, this is about choices, but it's also about confusion, and not really being sure where to invest your energy, because you know these things are finite, right? And so I feel like if that's coming up for you, then one of the deep things that can come out of this reading, or come out of this full moon, is this energy of the Alchemist. This is otherwise known as the Forge, otherwise known as the Temperance card. And temperance is, I mean, literally, it's what's happening here. You know, they are tempering the sword. They are taking these materials that are undergoing these very challenging conditions that break things down on a cellular level, and they are applying all of these other external force energy in that process, and it is a reforging. It is a remaking. It is a healing. Because what comes out of it is could be anything. Could be, it could be something, the sort of truth. It could be a new truth that you get out of this, a new understanding. Or, you know, maybe it is a piece of work, somebody bringing their creativity to life. So I feel like there's that. We also have, again, the Ace of Challenges, which, a new idea, a new way of thinking. So this new way of thinking, this like healing, and also follow that up here with the White Heart, which in other decks is known as the Fool. The Fool is taking a leap of faith. It's moving into an entirely new space without really having any actual data or information about what's going to happen. So, of course, when we take a leap of faith, we need to have trust in our ability to land. And so I feel like this full moon, you know, doing some work around having faith in your dreams, again, having faith in your dreams, having faith in yourself, learning from the past. And that doesn't just mean like learning from your L's, it's also learning from the doves. You know, it's learning from all of the wins that you've had, all of the things that you've already alchemized in some way that have forged you into the person you are now. And it's time to take take the new healing, rewrite the narrative, and allow yourself to step into this new way of thinking, this new adventure, this new knowing that you have your own back, and that you have not only that King of Pentacles energy, I never even got to this one, but also the Ten of Pentacles energy. And the Ten of Pentacles is, it's you know, it's material abundance. And I mean, does that mean you're gonna be like, you know, a billionaire? I mean, probably not. I don't think there's that many of those, but it's embracing the notion and understanding and having it be based in truth and reality that you are abundant and all of your material needs are met, and that you are capable of getting those material needs met. So you don't have to fall into that place of fear or scarcity, because you know that even if, you know, something comes and tells you that it's time to reinvest in a different space than where you've been putting your time, that you can do that, because you are adaptable, much like the mutable energy of this moon, and the sun, you know, the mutable Virgo, the mutable Pisces, like, you are adaptable. And I think, you know, for some of you, this may show up as, you know, this union card may show up with other people, of course, but I really feel like this is about the journey with the self, and the spiral of the knowing of the self and the becoming of the self. How the knowing of the self moves inward, and the becoming of the self is both an internal but also an external experience. So I hope, magical people, that you've gotten something from value of this. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it, because I don't often retain memory of what the readings are. Anyways, magical spiral friends, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. If you'd like a private reading, the information on how to obtain one will be in the description box below. And also, if you ever feel like you want to go hang out at my shop on Etsy, I mean, hang out, maybe that's not the right word, but if you ever want to go check out my shop on Etsy, I have actually recently made some progress in that arena. So I think there's like 20 or 25 things now in my shop. I think it's pretty much all or mostly leatherwork, but anyhow, go check it out. You don't have to buy anything, but go check it out. It made me feel good just to see people going and looking at the page, to be honest with you. So anyhow, thank you again. As always, please don't forget to be kind and gentle with yourself. Above all else, especially while navigating these bigger energies, be kind and gentle with yourself. And I will see you soon. Hello, Magical Group 4. If you selected this prism, then this reading is for you. It's a pretty one. All right, and so as I go through, because I have 4 tarot decks and 4 oracle decks here, my prism friends, and as I go through and pick the cards, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what it was like selecting this token. And my process was a little bit different than usual. Ordinarily, I have a theme in mind, or something just makes itself apparent to me, but this time I found myself walking around my place over and over again, and as I did, each time something would pop out at me, and with it would come a couple of messages. And so with this prism, the first thing that came into my mind was a seeking for a perspective shift, that there was a yearning for beauty, that there was a search for beauty and magic, and like this, literally the sparkling things in life, that was sort of like coming up. One of the other things that sort of came up as a message was the idea of things sort of coming from an unexpected place, you know, because like the prism in and of itself doesn't do a whole lot on its own. It's only once the light gets applied to it that suddenly it almost the very nature of the thing seems to change. It actually doesn't, of course, but it sort of appears to, because of the intermingling of the that external source of light. And so it's kind of like, yeah, like things not being what they appear, or things coming from a different place. So yeah, like I said, those are just some of the first things that like came to mind. And also delight, just the notion of delight and being in a place of wanting delight or seeking it, or even like needing it. Because I mean, sometimes life is hard, and sometimes there's just nothing you can do about that except for showing up for yourself the best way that you can, and by giving yourself feelings of pleasure, comfort, delight, and solace when you can, to sort of help mitigate the energy draining that occurs from those more difficult experiences. So, okay, now we got so many cards for you. It's very exciting. I've never done a reading quite like this before, and I kind of like it. Ooh, interesting. This card also came up for, I think it was reading 1, immunity. And we also have rabbit spirit. Now is a lucky time. Love that. For a hummingbird card, we have lotus jewel. Underneath your feathered exterior lies a radiant diamond, glimmering with truth, beauty, and wisdom. Oh, which the first message that's coming through from that, especially with relating to my story about the prisms, is that you're not giving yourself enough credit, or like selling yourself short, or being like the thing that you're seeking that you think you only see outside of yourself is actually in you as well. And then for the supermoon, oh, you got the supermoon card for the supermoon reading. Emotions are running high. So maybe this is a time, like I said at the beginning, emotional awareness might very well be something that is coming up for us at this time. Okay, let's see what we have for tarot cards. We have the Seven of Wands, the Three of Swords, the Two of Wands, the Six of Swords, the Star card, the King of Swords, the Three of Pentacles, the Three of Cups, the Hermit, the Queen of Swords, the Ten of Cups, and the Magician. Oh boy. Yeah, you really are looking to find some beauty and like the glimmerings of the things that feel good. Like there's this like real yearning towards it. And also there's this like, there is a sadness here. And maybe that's that emotion that is running very high for you right now, is just that feeling of sadness, with the Three of Swords Three of Swords card. We often refer to this as the heartbreak card. And so there is a sadness and a feeling of like there is something there that needs to be healed. And that something about that, maybe your experience or the way that you're interacting with it, is making you feel a bit like this isn't necessarily a traditional reading of this card, but there's with this energy is kind of like coming this feeling of like maybe feeling like you're almost a little bit outside of yourself. And so it's feeling like there's been a lot of stressful times, and that like you are unique, you are one of a kind, you are very special, and that sometimes when one is special, it can feel very alienating at times. So, but I know that all sounds like kind of a tough place to start from, but that's just the first row here, because I also see that there is a time of like you've come through the hardest of it, and now there is this like conscious desire to, like I said, want to shift your perspective, want to move beyond the things and move towards that place of like the magical horizon, so to speak, and like your own guiding star and your own source of light. And like this has been a very I don't know why this word is coming to mind, but like harrowing experience of late, like something that you've been coming through. Um, yeah, it has really been like a lot of like harder type energies to manage. Um, in some ways, but there's been a lot of lessons. Like you've gained a lot of, you've gained a lot of wisdom from this. It's really interesting. I kind of feel like, so there's, I feel like we have both of these. Actually, it's kind of funny because we had these three cards come up out of this deck. And so we have the Three of Crystals, which is otherwise known as the Three of Pentacles, which is like putting your work out there, putting your ideas out there, sort of like showing off what you've created, sort of moving into maybe literally like a marketplace, like selling your stuff, but it could also just be like moving into that stage of like where you've put in a lot of learning and now it's time to actually like put that learning out there into the world. And then of course the Three of Cups is about all about being in community and like those emotional connections that we have that feel really good to us and that make us feel celebratory and make us feel, like community is essentially what this card is like a place of celebratory community. But then we have that sort of balanced by the Hermit card, right, which is sort of about removing yourself from things. So I feel like maybe for you at this time, especially if it has been a time when you've been moving through some stuff and getting these, the Queen of Swords is, I mean, the Sword of Truth is a beautiful thing, but it can also be a very harsh thing, and so like I kind of feel like there's this as you've moved through this like more challenging energy. Maybe one of the things that has been difficult is to sort of keep these two energies in balance. This energy of putting yourself out there and being with others, but also allowing yourself the time that you need to recuperate and rekindle your own sort of light. We also have the Ten of Visions, which is the Ten of Cups. And this card is, I mean, like this picture just says it all. Like it's a field full of unicorns, y'all. It's a happy little unicorn family. So it is that place of feeling very emotionally abundant, just feeling like you have moved into a place of deep knowing of the emotional depths and not finding that space wanting. We also have here the Magician. So I feel like there is definitely like there's a real call here to balance the energies. And with the Two of Wands, like twos are often about having to make a choice or find a balance. And of course, the Two of Wands is no different. And, so I feel like maybe for you lately, there has been, as you've been moving through your life, and like coming to this place where you really want this perspective shift, you really want to find the good and beautiful things. There is also this having to manage your own energy while doing that, because like this place that you're healing from, and I feel like for some of you this might be also some kind of like recent burnout that you've been feeling. Maybe, I mean, it could even be from good things. Like this doesn't have to point to bad things, but like traveling for me is not, well, it's really not something I love doing. But even when it's to do things that I do love doing, there is still just kind of like an overwhelm and a, like it's hard to do. So the Three of Swords doesn't necessarily have to be like heartbreak, especially from a romantic way, but this is like pain. And this is like also being of the swords. It's like it's the merging of painful thinking and the way our own painful thinking can hurt ourselves. So I kind of feel like, well, one, let me just stop right here and say that you are worthy of letting yourself heal. And, you know, as I said in the intro, this super blue full moon is an open invitation to heal. You know, and that, like, as you sort of let yourself move forward, um, you know, while still honoring the balance that needs to be kept between, uh, you know, yourself and the way that you exist in the world, that the more you honor those, it's interesting because like I'm an introverted person, and I have lots of people that I love and want to spend time with, but I also know that, like, if I try and spend so much time with other people, then I don't end up spending enough time sort of with myself, sort of like, uh, I guess, processing the experiences that I've had. And so if there's too many experiences without enough processing time in between, then, you know, I quickly kind of become overwhelmed. And so, you know, then there's this, like, sort of secondary judgment that kind of falls back on itself, where, you know, then I sort of get on my own butt, you know, not so much now, but especially when I was younger, about not really being able to, like, keep up as much with everybody else. But, like, you know, I feel like we all have times like that in our life, even if that's not just kind of naturally who we are. We all have times where, you know, like if you've gotten a cold and you still haven't fully recuperated from that cold, then you'll notice that overall your energy level, like, you still feel a little bit more lethargic, or maybe you have a little bit of a scratchy throat, like you're not all the way healed. And so having the same expectations that you have of yourself when you are in a more robust state of health isn't really particularly reasonable. And I feel like we do that a lot to ourselves emotionally as well. Like, when we are at times of greatest stress, sometimes those moments of life when it feels like we need to be able to handle more than we usually can, and we find that because our stress level is so high, it sort of feels like we can't handle as much as we usually can, you know, then that's kind of showing to ourselves that maybe we haven't been doing the greatest job at recognizing our own truth, beauty, and wisdom, and honoring who we actually are, and giving ourselves the stuff that we actually need. Now, I think what's interesting is that, like, so much of this is so clear, and I feel like this card, this rabbit card, now is a lucky time. I feel like the reason why that card came out is because, again, like, a lot of this is, I think, for you, group 3, it's not anything that you have to do or anything that you have to change or anything like that. It's more a matter of, once you maybe stop being in resistance to where and who you actually are, and instead you love that being and give it compassion and flexibility when needed, that that's when things will sort of start to shift. Oh, I feel like I lost it right in the middle of it there. But that's what I was gonna say. But yeah, now is a lucky time for you, because I think this full moon, if you decide to take advantage of this moment in time, and it doesn't have to be exactly on this day. You know, it's really all about just your intentions in this life, in a lot of ways. But I feel like if you set yourself the intention of, during this full moon, working on your relationship with yourself and honoring who you are, even the sort of bitter truths that maybe don't go down super smooth. Like I feel like, well, one, nobody's perfect and we shouldn't expect ourselves to be. But I feel like, again, with this hummingbird card and with this Queen of Swords card, I kind of feel like there's this energy here of like having super, super huge expectations of yourself, and, maybe judging yourself really, really harshly, and, not recognizing that, like, diamonds don't have round edges. Diamonds have jagged points, and you know pretty much, I'm trying to think of, yeah, like anything that sparkles has an edge. Like, we are multifaceted, and that multifacetedness, that's not right, I don't know what word that would be, but that quality of being multifaceted is what does allow us to sparkle and allow us to shine. So, like, even if you feel like you're falling short of the mark sometimes, or like this judgment is not sitting well with you, again, it's really about just acknowledging that just feeds into your wisdom, and that, like, it's really just about honoring who you are, and you don't have to be perfect. Like, if you are not a person, if you are a person who doesn't quite manage being able to go 80 miles an hour all of the time, or even 35 miles an hour all of the time, if you are more of a person who is more of like a will cyclically both need time away as well as time to be out and creating and producing, then that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There can be a balance found within those things, and the more that you are able to like see and acknowledge and honor all of the aspects of yourself, even the parts that maybe even make you feel a little squiggly, then the more you will be in that place of Ten of Cups energy and the Magician energy, and actually being able to, with the will of your intention, shift things in your space around you. So I hope, magical people, group 3, my magical prism friends, that this has been helpful for you. If you enjoyed this reading and it brought any value to you, please consider leaving a thumbs up or a comment, or subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like a private reading, the information on how to get one of those is in the description box below. I've got an Etsy shop. I've recently put a bunch of stuff into it, and so feel free to check that out as well. But I mean, most importantly, sorry, I'm trying to be better at self-promotion, and that came off super awkwardly because I didn't space it well, but so please forgive me. I hope none of that little self-promotion stuff minimized anything in the reading group 3. Above all, don't forget to be kind and gentle with yourself, and I will see you soon.